What's up boys, welcome to this beautiful day and welcome back to the channel. I've just fitted some brand new S23 Bridgestones to this MT-09. Very keen to get out and see what they can do and scrub them in, because if any of you guys got any experience, then you'll know just how sketchy tyres can feel for the first 10 or 20 miles or so. So let's take this thing on the road, test them out and go over the nuances of what it's like to put new tyres on your bike. And before we do so, let me just say a massive rest in peace to the late and great Ozzy Osbourne. That being said, let's get on the road and let's see what this thing can do. All right boys, let's get out of here. There's people turning up left, right and centre. People have been coming and going, looking at me thinking, what is this guy doing with a camera by himself? But you know what? That's how I bring these videos to you lovely people. No shame, baby, no shame. Drive with care, yes we shall. Welcome back boys and girls. It feels good today out on the Yamaha. My God, look at the weather. Look how nice the sky looks. And believe it or not, we are on the tail end of winter. Where else in the world does this happen? I don't know, probably somewhere, but you can tell me that somewhere in the comments. Anyhow, who cares about the weather? We're here today to test out the S23s, and that's the sign we like to see. We're gonna hit up some twisties. Okay, time to grow up. Too much fun. But yeah man, as you guys can tell, we're out on some twisty roads. Perfect, we've got about half an hour to ride these roads all the way home back to Throttle Tube HQ, aka my house. Then that's about 24 kilometers, which is about what, 14, 15 miles or so? I'll put it up somewhere on the screen. But we will do our best to overtake all of these slow coaches in their cages and get the corners scrubbing on these tyres. And as you guys can see, man, when you get new tyres, because of that shape of the tyre, there's no more flat spot. You're not fighting the flat spot to try and get it on its side. So this thing just tips over like a dime. So if you guys have never had new tyres before, if you ever get new tyres, you're fully going to understand. That first time when you pull away on your bike, it's going to be so strange. It's going to feel like your bike is so tippable. And that's because it is, which is obviously a good thing. But if you're not used to it, it can be really sketchy. I know the first time I put new tyres on my first bike, I left the tyre shop and I was actually pretty scared to ride it, because everything that I've learned to ride pretty much up until that point had gone out the window, because suddenly my bike felt like it wanted to flip over. Well, I'll tell you what guys, even at slow speeds, the tip-in is so much easier now, and you're going to find that when you get new tyres that it's going to feel very sketchy to start with, because now your tyre is no longer flat, so you're not fighting a flat spot to tip it over. So if you're not used to it, the bike can feel very sketchy below you, because as you can see, this thing wants to tip, but with experience, you actually kind of want that tip. That tip is your friend. But yeah, let's try and get some space so we can actually give these tyres a run for their money, because I really want to scrub these things in nice and hard. I'm a firm believer, if you're going to scrub in tyres, just send it from the beginning, to an extent, depending on the conditions. I mean, look at the roads, they're nice dry, they're very grippy. The roads out here have a lot of divots and they're not very smooth, which is good, because tyres really get ripped apart, which is what you want, especially when you're removing the first layer or so, if you want to call it that, off your tyres. And as much as people say to take it easy for the first few miles, of course that's very true, especially if you've got like greasy roads, wet conditions. Just don't be too heavy on the throttle and you should be fine. But when you're on roads like this and you're out in the open, I'm a firm believer of just twisting that throttle, letting those tyres really get used to being stretched. Just waiting for the right opening here, dudes, because I don't want to be a statistic for overtaking on the outside. Don't be that guy if you're watching this. Don't ever overtake on a corner on the outside. It's the dumbest thing you can do. Look, I can see the whole road now. This is when you overtake. Oh yeah. Yeah, look at the lean on that. So much better. And as I said, like, I'm a firm believer of ripping these tyres to shreds when you get them from the get-go. Obviously use your brain, look around, use your surroundings. I'm on very good dry roads. These are the perfect conditions to do it. And when I say rip shreds, I'm still being careful peeling out of corners, because if the back's going to slide, that's the time it's going to happen. But you really want to stretch and wreck those tyres to an extent just to get the scrubbing in very good. And I myself am a firm believer that you're going to want to push your tyres to at least where you're ever going to push them. If that makes sense to anyone, like basically use the tyres hard when you first get them, so if you ever do need them in an emergency situation, it's not going to be the first time that that bit of tyre is going to be stretched to that specific part of the rubber, because I don't know, it's just a thing that I believe in. If they get used to that muscle memory of just always being static and never stretched, I don't think the rubber is going to be as good when you need them. That's just my own little thing. There's no science behind that, so take that with a grain of salt, of course. But yeah guys, that tipping point is beautiful. It is so much better than it was before. Pop, 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 pop. Man, for you guys that are a bit more experienced, don't you love that feeling of new tyres? Like, it just feels so freeing. This is what a bike's about. Right, these things should be nicely warmed up now. Do you know what? After that short 15-20 minute ride, I'll tell you what, the S23s are definitely a lot more confidence inspiring than the S22s. And the S22s were great to start with, but these things have so much grip. Yeet! But I know that these tyres aren't really built for longevity, so they don't really last too long. I know there's better options out there, but I just like the confidence of grip. I don't really care personally if the tyres don't last as long. I'd rather them last a little bit less, but when I go around a corner it feels like I'm glued to the ground. But that's just my personal preference. I would much rather take a stickier tyre over a longer lasting tyre any day of the week. But I tell you what guys, these things tip the hell over. Look, look how much you can tip these things over. Holy schmoly. It feels like my right foot's gonna hit the floor. If that doesn't say anything, I don't know what will. But yeah, you just gotta be careful of that if you're a newer rider and you're not very confident. Like I said, slow speed, bikes will tip over super quick with new tyres. And if you're not ready for it, please make sure you have some of these, because I'd hate to see you guys drop your bike just because of new tyres. But overall, I'm very, very pleased with these things, man. Like, look, can you guys see? Look how malleable that is. See if I can get close enough for you guys. Can you see my thumb? Like, just so mushy. It's like melted chocolate. Yeah, these things grip so good. But because of that, like I said, these don't tend to last long, and you can see the curvature now. Before I had quite a flat tyre, which is notorious on bigger bikes, 1000 cc's, especially things like MT09s, because idiots, no names, like to wheelie these things and do a lot of highway pulls. So you're going to get flat spots very easy. So if you're someone who's into that, maybe get a harder tyre compound. But if you're someone who likes to hit up twisties and actually use their steering on their motorcycle, get yourself something stickier like these S23s. And it goes without saying, of course, don't ever let your tyres get so low that you're going to have an accident, because at the end of the day, you've only got 2 tiny points of contact touching the ground, so don't ever skimp out on tyres. They're worth replacing earlier rather than later. Trust me, I've seen it go wrong many a times. And the only time I've ever had an accident almost from sliding the rear out is when I thought I could go a few more miles on the tyres. So don't be that guy. And just quickly, in case some of you guys didn't know, right in there, see there's a tiny little bubble? That's a little raised point that's inside of this indent. That is your tyre wear mark, so don't ever let your tyre get any lower than that. Once you hit that point, it's time to replace these and get a new set of rubber. Anyway, I think I'll leave it at that, and thank you guys so much for getting us to 1700 subscribers. That is actually quite a big achievement for an idiot with 2 wheels. I very much appreciate every single one of you. Let's get out of these guys' construction site, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.